The Nevada test site is a United States Department of Energy reservation located about 65 miles northwest of the city of Las Vegas, Nevada. From 1951 to 1962, the Nevada test site was the primary site used for the testing of nuclear bombs, both surface and above ground testing. 86 tests were performed at or above ground level, all of which released significant amounts of radioactive material into the atmosphere, commonly referred to as fallout. This nuclear testing and its accompanying fallout adversely affected the lives of thousands of United States citizens. These people came to be known as the downwinders. In 1990, the federal government passed the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act. This law apologizes on behalf of the nation to the downwinders and their families. It also provides monetary compensation to the downwinders and their eligible survivors. But does it compensate all the people affected by the nuclear testing and its fallout? Here is a map of the area covered by the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, RECA. Here is the Nevada test site. If we are to believe the federal government's version of events, we would have to believe that for the entire 11 years of above-ground testing, all of the fallout somehow magically circumvented southern Mojave County and continued on and landed in the Arizona counties of Coconino, Yavapai, and Gila. To get a more reasonable perspective on what really happened, maybe we should listen to the people who were actually living in southern Mojave County when the testing was taking place.
I'm 85 now. I grew up in Oatman, and I moved to Kingman when I was 17. When I was 23, I had cancer of the thyroid, parathyroid, and of the left kidney. I had surgery for all that. I think the testing gave me that. I have no thyroid, parathyroid glands at all. And that's very hard because that controls the calcium in your body. You have severe charley horses and spasms. My mother and my brother also were killed by cancer.
We knew there was atomic testing going on from the start because it was in all the newspapers. The most exposure that I had to it was in 1957 when I was a lifeguard at Catherine Landing in Bullhead. I remember looking at a couple of them. Everybody get up early in the morning so they could see the blast.
The testing in Nevada affected my life pretty severely because we lost so many family members from cancer. My mother had breast cancer. My dad had kidney cancer. My dad passed away. My husband had prostate cancer. My daughter had something near leukemia. They couldn't prove exactly what it was. She passed away at 36 because she was outdoors so much and drank so much milk that I think it affected her health a lot.
The fact that people were radiated through the food chain, I think, is very definite consideration in this area. We had a small town dairy. They know that the radiation got into cattle and was transmitted through the milk. That was no secret at all. There's a website where you can put your name and when you lived here in, and it will give you the radiation rads of exposure that you yourself had. And one of the things that you put in is if you had a milk cow, and that just about doubles the rads of exposure. And a lot of that would probably explain why the ranching families were so devastated, because they always all had milk cows, usually. My family, we all bought milk from the dairy, and during that time, my dad, in the early part of the testing, he had a milk cow, which very possibly contributed.
The cattle on our ranch, a lot of the cattle would eat the contaminated fillery, and that would bring it into the system, which we had no clue, and then they were sold to people to eat them.
Through the years, I've noticed that the people who were working outdoors in construction, and the area had construction and lots of cattle ranches, and I know a lot of the cattle ranchers, the wives or the husbands or the children were highly affected. Yes, more than ordinary, you know. So every one of the ranchers had somebody, and maybe 2 or 3 family members who were affected.
I noticed that a lot of the ranchers, young people and old both, caught cancer after the testing had stopped. And I always believed that they've been up early in the morning and out in the open, and oftentimes at the higher altitudes on the mountains. And they possibly had more exposure than the other people had who lived in town.
I'm local here. I've been born and raised here, but my family's been here a long time. I'm 66 years old. My family are ranchers back when the above ground shots were being shot and stuff, and I see what it did to my family about the cancers and how many of my friends. There's been so many people in this county just gone, and I have some friends that I went to school with that have cancer, and well, the Logus family, I went to school with all them, and there's only one left, and she's got it, and Joan, and she's real sick at it.
One of the groups that really got devastated were the individuals that worked at the Ford Motor Company proving ground, which was opened about 1955, I think. I think they did a lot of research thinking there might be something there causing the cancer, but well, a lot of people that were ranchers' sons and things, finding a good job which Ford provided, they went to the proving ground and went to work. And I've always thought that probably the high risk of cancer that they had was they were all out all hours of the morning running around testing vehicles. In those days, they drove them around the whole county on the dirt roads and everywhere.
I went to junior high and high school in Kingman, and I saw many of my friends get cancer and pass away, and lots of classmates. In Kingman, in a 2-block area, that would be on Sprague Street. In a 2-block area there, every family on that street somebody in that family passed away from cancer. Some at a very young age, one girl at 13, one mother, I think she was in her 30s, she left 4 children, and she died of brain cancer, and then my grandfather lived right up the street, and he died of systemic cancer. He had stomach cancer as well as all over his body, and then his son, my uncle, died of neck cancer. And right up the street there was breast cancer and all kinds. Every house was affected.
One of the people who died quite early was our sheriff, Frank Porter, and he was a young man, and he got leukemia very soon after the testing. Died. He might have died before the testing was over. And then there was another very well-liked small town boy, Dick Grounds, who as soon as he was out of high school, he got leukemia and died from it.
My friend Benny Levy, who was a former Kingmanite, and he was employed at the testing site in Nevada, and on his retirement he started a research, compiling information, and he asked me to do the children part in Kingman and Mojave County. I did about 40 children, and all of them on the death certificates I acquired, the cause of death was leukemia.
I feel that it's unfair for the people in Mojave County that went through the situation, and it needs to be taken care of and addressed as soon as possible. Because right now they're at that age, a lot of them, and you're seeing it. I appreciate what you people are doing, and we need to get this thing resolved and get it on the road for the people that need the help. And as the financial criteria of the United States, we need it, definitely, especially Kingman.
I appreciate Congress looking at this again and giving us a hearing. It is nice to have a forum. Very much appreciate Representative Paul Gosar's sponsoring a bill to reopen this, and we're just hopeful that this time we will get something accomplished, because I think the facts are on our side. I think when they looked at Mojave County, they used different criteria than they did for the other counties for coverage, and I don't think that was fair.